G'day from Isan. On a bright sunny morning I thought I'd take you for a walk through the new garden. Now this is on land that we bought and started to establish in the beginning of last year. So all the shrubs you see are a bit over 12 months old. This is basically a complete vacant block of land. We had to put a tractor through here to take it back to the dirt. This is the entrance from the house. Readers of the blog will recognise the Buddha and the red wall in the background. These paths have worked out really well. They're not totally finished yet, but I hope to do that in the next couple of months. Well, 6 months. You see in the distance that those shrubs that go across the path, they'll eventually grow into a hedge. So the idea is that what lies behind that is a surprise. The design of the garden was to try and give several different areas that had separate characters, so that it wasn't all just the same. And that in order to see those different areas, you had to actually go and explore the garden. There's nowhere now in the garden you can actually stand and look at the whole thing. You actually have to go walking. Even some of these side paths take you to other areas, mainly because Gun can't stop developing and planting. So even at the back of the main sort of areas, you get all this work that she's put in, which sort of creates a whole environment in itself, which in normal situations would just be left. I did a blog, my last blog post was about the watering system. See, it's for real. I haven't painted this one green yet, must get round to that. These trees you see here will, in 2 years, they will spread out and start to create a really nice shaded area. Here when we first started to develop the garden, God, we had some weeds, and I thought, oh my, we're going to spend our whole life just weeding. But what Gun has done is actually covered the ground with plants, and these have defeated the weeds, and we literally almost don't weed at all now. And this is half a rye, lemongrass, being used as a sort of a ground cover, which is actually quite nice, and obviously you can get to eat it as well. So this will eventually be an archway, and the bits at the top will join together, so they'll actually be like a doorway cut through this hedge, with the pot in the background. All of this is floodlit at night, so it looks absolutely beautiful. The bougainvilleas are still flowering, and looking up at the back, that's the pergola that's at the back of at the front of our bedroom, and shades us from the morning sun. Love this pot. Bought 2 of them. Very unusual to find pots with character here. Mostly they're very basic, cheap, but very basic. This wasn't cheap, but well, cheap by Australian standards, but something a bit special. These east-west palms, I think you call them those, fan palms. Gun calls them patlom. Patlom is fan in Thai. They're like everything else, they're a year old. Eventually they'll actually come out of the ground. They actually have like a tree trunk, and will be twice the height of what they are now. This is the old Isan water pot. We bought 2 of them, and the family gave us one. Our Isan fishing boat. I just love this area. once again you can start to see the hedge sort of forming, which will transform this area. You can start to see it happening now. This is our main outdoor seating area in the garden. The paving finishes here. This is the last bit to do. Once again, this will be a doorway cut through the hedge and leading through. Different character again. This is a separate section in itself. This is a water pot the family gave me. Most people couldn't be bothered to make a garden like this, and I do understand it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get established, and then it's constant work to keep it looking like this. This actually takes a lot of everyday work, mostly by Gun. I'm not taking credit for it. And for most people, that's not what interests them, and I totally understand that. For most Farang, a sort of big lawn area is the way to go, and then you plant shrubs around the outside, and it's easy. And if I didn't have Gun, that's probably what I would do. This is the second of those pots, and this is the back of the wall that I built. The two plants directly behind the pot is our avocado trees. And then we exit this section through yet another hedge and what will be a sort of gateway through to the next area. These plants, they're called dragon tongue, maybe, actually given to us by villagers. Gun collects plants wherever she goes. And people see these almost as weeds, so we get them for free or for a bottle of beer. There was a tree here, a big longan tree, which shaded this area, and so we planted it up with a lot of ferns. But then the tree got blown over in a big storm, and the ferns have suffered as a result. We've got new trees planted, but it'll be a couple of years before this is shaded again. Just through to the second of those water pots that we moved onto the land. This is our rose garden. Roses grow fine in tropical Thailand. They are a little bit quiet over the cool season, but sort of kicking in with new flowers now. This area here was literally dirt. We took it back to the dirt. There was not one plant in this area a bit over 12 months ago. And I wanted to create this sort of forest, which already, after just a year, these trees on the right, mangoes mainly, they've been around for a few years, but it's everything on the left that actually creates this this amazing sort of canopy. This is all new. I just love this. This is just tropical for me. It's why I fell in love with Thailand, is this sort of stuff. Oh, here we go, typical Isan. Someone's selling something. This is the rice hut. The original rice hut that we moved onto the land. As you can see, it's settled into this area so well. Looks as though it's been here forever. Thanks to Greg and Noi, who actually made that sign for us, plus other contributions they've actually given us. And from here you get, you can see this. This again will be a This will be a hedge with so you'll actually only get a glimpse of the garden through here, so you'll actually have to come through that doorway to find the rice hut. These are mainly golden palms. They grow about 1 metre a year, so in another couple of years this will be an incredibly shaded area, and then looking down to the outside seating area and to the second water pot in the background. And this is a small area that Gun herself created. This is all her design. Once again, these you can see these trees here. These will all make this a totally shaded area in another 2 to 3 years, which is what you want in Thailand. You don't want your sunshine's great if you come from England, but you just don't. It's just too hot. See, Gun does little things like this. She's wonderfully creative in the Thai way. And then we've got lots of hanging things. Love it. This is my inspiration and Gun's creation. So much hard work. It's beautiful, isn't it? See the entrance through to the front carport. Here there's a storeroom and an undercover drying area, closed drying area behind that. This is an area I love because it reminds me most of the Jim Thompson house, which is in Bangkok, which is what this garden is based on. Because you've got this beautiful pathways winding through the garden, and then the trees overhang. This is a jackfruit tree. There's a coconut palm behind, and a coconut tree. These are custard apple, and the hedge there behind that is our original garden, which we bought 5 years ago. I've put sort of statues to try and give a little bit of interest throughout the garden, and things like these pots that you can see. So it's not just plants, you want to add something that makes it a bit more interesting. Back to the entrance to the garden again. This is a hand basin. So wash your hands before we go inside. This area is too hot to use during the day at the moment, but you can see this this climber, it's partly deciduous, so it's lost a lot of its leaves over the cool season, but it's starting to put them back on again. I'll take a photo of this in 6 months, and this area will be pretty well covered, I reckon, in 6 months, and it'll be a shaded and cooler area. But we use it a lot in the evening. Come here, have a drink, turn the lights on, and with a view like that, you can understand why it's so pleasant. That's the owl we bought recently. I did a blog post on him. This is the pathway back to the house, and our outside area there that we do use a lot during the day because it's cooler. And then down to that pot, we've got the rice hut in the background. Another beautiful pot I picked up. And then of course the Buddha. Just love the Buddha. It's got so much character. Really makes this area. And the clock above, which is broken, but it's always set to roughly about 6 o'clock in the evening, so it's always time to have a drink. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the trip around the garden. It brings it more to life, doesn't it? I've posted so many photos about the garden, but when you take a walk around, I think it brings it into reality for you. So I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you next time. Cheers.